This is the New American Media. Broadcasting to you, live from the Milky Way galaxy, the solar system, planet Earth, North America, the United States of America, California, Los Angeles, to be specific. Hello, everybody. Happy Friday, and welcome to Agree to Disagree here on the TNAM radio network here at thenewamericanmedia.com. Thanks for joining us. I'm your host, Brian Engelman, as I have been for the past 2.5 years. Man, it's so strange when you say it that way. And when I say you say it that way, I mean I say it that way. It sounds so strange when I say it. To hear 2.5 years I've been doing this stuff, covering all the crazy stuff going on in the news and the world for 2.5 years. Wow. Good times. Thank you very much for joining us. The New American Media has a TNAM Person of the Year. That would be Edward Snowden. It wasn't even close. We're going to talk about that in a second, and then we're going to kind of hit reset and do another segment and cover the biggest news stories that you might have missed throughout the week. We're going to bring in special guest, radio host Blake the Eccentric Walley. He'll be joining us in just a moment. But real quick, if you haven't checked out everything that we're about, please do so. Check out our homepage, thenewamericanmedia.com. Go on YouTube, youtube.com/thenewamericanmedia. Click subscribe. Check out some videos, share them, comment, join the conversation. Go on Facebook, search The New American Media with spaces in between and like the page. And follow us on Twitter. We're at American_media_. We put different content on different sites, so we ask that you join us in all of those mediums, all those platforms, all of those places, so that we can stay connected throughout the week. I want to talk about our TNAM Person of the Week, Person of the Year. Well, Person of the Week, Person of the Month. That's going to be Edward Snowden. For my money, I love that Edward Snowden put the information, the truth out there, because it took so much of the ammunition of the ostriches among us. The naysayers, the perpetual doubters. It took the ammunition away from them. Say, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. That stuff isn't happening. They're not doing that to Americans. Okay. What do you got for us now? What do you got for us now? It just blew a hole in all the simplest way that people could say, oh, that isn't really happening. You're just paranoid. Really now. The revelations that have been coming out over the past several months have just been creepy, maddening, wonderful in the way that I've known this has been going on for a long time. And it's wonderful that finally the information exists. You cannot deny that it is happening. And for that, he's the TNAM Person of the Year, Edward Snowden. So we're going to bring in Blake the Eccentric Walley to maybe give us his thoughts on our Person of the Year.
Hello.
Blake, welcome to the program. You are live, sir. How's it going?
Excellent, Brian. How are you?
Living the dream, of course. I did mention to people that you are a radio host, and you can be found every Monday, Wednesday, Thursday on Freedomizer, Freedomizer, what is that, freedomizerradio.com, from noon to 1:30 p.m. Pacific. Your homepage is Eccentric Perspective. You can be found on Twitter at Eccentric99. What'd I forget? Anything?
No, if you go on Twitter, you'll pretty much get access to everything.
I remember
all the work that I do, and I keep it updated almost every day. Maybe not every weekend day, but just about every day.
Yeah, that's right. The thing I was forgetting is your podcast. Go on iTunes and search Eccentric99, and you can get an archived listening, an archived shelf.
List.
Yes, an archived list of content to consume. But I led the program, Blake. You probably didn't hear it, but I led with our TNAM Person of the Year announcement. That is Edward Snowden. I know we didn't prep for this one, but I mean, it's a story you've covered on, and I think they've only released 1% of the Fourth Amendment violating atrocities being committed by the NSA on a daily basis. So I want to get your thoughts on Edward Snowden becoming the TNAM Person of the Year.
I totally am supportive of that. That's probably who I would have voted for. I understand why they might have voted for Pope Francis and all. It's just a goofy little thing I'm not going to take too seriously, and Time magazine's not exactly a bastion of credibility that perhaps was conceived or, seen in the past as. But, I'm totally supportive of Snowden. I think what he did was absolutely heroic. He really changed so many things. I mean, you can only imagine what... where we would be without the Edward Snowden revelations and just the shock waves that just the waves that came out of all that and the aftermath, and they're still dealing with that. And as you said, they've only come out with about 1% of the documents. We've only just seen a tiny, tiny fraction, just a little tip of the iceberg of everything that he knew. So we can only imagine where this all goes from here.
I am demanding justice for the 99%. I demand justice for the 99%. Where is the rest of the information? No, Blake, but I was also saying that what Edward Snowden has done specifically for me, for you, for other folks who have been inappropriately and sloppily, is that a word? Yeah, sloppily labeled as lunatic fringe conspiracy nuts. Edward Snowden has put on the map just exactly how bad things are, and hey guys, guess what? We were right all along, and this is really, really bad. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Absolutely. If we would have said that, I think the government's looking at your emails and your phone calls, and people would be like, yeah, whatever, you're a crazy tinfoil hat, black helicopter, conspiracy theorist, whatever, crazy person. And now you have proof, but the funny part is, or sad part is that some of those people are like, well, of course they were, duh. It's just like some people you just can't reach out to, but it certainly helps the credibility for all the people that have been warning about this for so long.
And for the people that are kind of sitting on the fence that are saying, well, if I got nothing to hide, I've got nothing to worry about. For me, a lot of this NSA stuff goes right to the core of the Fourth Amendment, which is very specific that you can't just cast huge drag nets and just stop everyone and shake them by their ankles and see what comes out. That is a cornerstone of what the United States government is supposed to be. Can you talk about why that's important for someone that says, well, I'm not doing anything wrong, what do I care? Well, talk to that person for a second. Why does Edward Snowden's revelations matter to the person that thinks it doesn't apply to them, that it's not a problem?
I think what I would find the most horrible, maybe especially for maybe younger people that really maybe don't think about the consequences of their actions in the modern age of technology, where people just kind of spread social media and the kinds of things that they do as young people, and then they realize that all this stuff is being put into a database that could possibly be used against you later in life if they have a little dirt on you. Now, they might not be able to legally use, but it's still there. So, I mean, it just sets a very dangerous precedent, and they should not be in there in the first place. It's like the government going through all your stuff in your house, or it's not really much different if they have access to all your files and your metadata, and they're tracking you, and they know exactly where you are, where you're going. No, I don't think anybody should want to live in a society like that. So, I don't know. I'm kind of curious, Brian. What do you think? I'm probably missing something.
Oh, no. Well, I mean, it's not that you're missing something. It's just there's so many different layers of the onion. The more we go, the stinkier it gets, the more our eyes water, the more painful it is. But, no, I think to expand on what you're saying, to be very blunt and specific here, say you're ranting to a friend about something really upsets you. Say your favorite sports team lose. Oh, I could kill that quarterback. Okay. Well, now you're using violent rhetoric and you're potentially dangerous. Maybe your Second Amendment rights should be restricted because, well, that one guy that shot that one person said that one thing beforehand, and now it's like Minority Report. It's pre-crime. It's a pre-crime division. Well, look at the stuff he says when he's texting his college roommate. Clearly, he's a danger to society, and his other rights need to be restricted.
Oh
also,
yeah, sending your roommate a drunken text, and you're like, I'm gonna kill this person or whatever, and you're just emotionally charged and you don't mean it. Yeah, and that kind of stuff is being analyzed and red flagged and thrown into a database somewhere. So you never know how that information could be used against you.
Okay.
If there's no privacy.
Well, okay, so that's one angle. There's another angle of, kind of to expand on what you were saying, is so what if you're sexting? What if you send a couple of racy pictures to somebody? What if you're flirting? Or what if a fake case could be built against you, and how do you unprove something that says, look, this was in his text. Look, this is what was here. I mean, it was there. I mean, yeah, like kids. Luckily, I'm 30. What am I? 30-something? 30-something? What am I? 34, maybe. But yeah, when I was a kid, I didn't have access to this. Man,
I can only imagine the damning amount of stuff that I could have done if I was, that age. If I was, high school, college age, and we had the ability to text pictures and stuff like that, and where that could have gotten. Because I've had enough times where I've partied too hard, and I'm scared to look at my phone the next day because, oh my God, who did I call? Just tell me I didn't make those phone calls like I think I did. And unfortunately I don't do that anymore. But I can imagine if I was that age again. So I feel sorry for this generation and the amount of damage they could do to themselves.
Well, and then you have, if you're dating people, would you be sexting? Would you have different pictures and stuff that could be used against you at a later date to shame you or embarrass you or try to coerce you into something, which leads me to my next point. What about, some people have said, and I'm not necessarily of the opinion that this is certain or fact, but some people have wondered out loud, Supreme Court Justice John Roberts, he completely did a 180 on the Obamacare ruling. Was there dirt on him? And how effectively could I know it's redundant, or I'm sorry, it's an oxymoron to say an honest politician, but I would imagine there are a couple of good men and women in government in various places, just like in law enforcement, just like everywhere, there are good people. But what if they wanted to do something right or accurate or following the rule of the law, but they were blackmailed? Maybe they did something they were ashamed of, maybe they had who knows, an extramarital affair.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, all that type of stuff. People were wondering, did the NSA give information to the president, and did the president go over, and not him directly, someone in the administration, go over and blackmail Supreme Court Justice John Roberts and say, hey, you better find a way to make Obamacare legal or else? I mean, talk about that for a second. If politicians can all be blackmailed, who's really pulling the strings, Blake?
Yeah, no, it's an interesting point, and that's a lot of people are talking about that, and I don't think John Roberts has ever commented on that. So that's been a suspicion all along. Many people, so it's hard to say what happened. It didn't really make any sense for John Roberts to cast that deciding vote. It was extremely controversial and didn't really seem to add up. And there's also rumors that say that a lot of very powerful people don't get into the high positions of power unless they've got some kind of compromising dirt so that they can be politically destroyed if they try to speak out or buck the establishment at some point.
That was Buck with a B, the establishment, right?
Yes, it certainly was.
Either way, I might support the sentiment. No, but there's yet another reason why the Edward Snowden thing is important to me. The revelations, rather, that Edward Snowden exposed, the NSA spying into everybody's cell phones, metadata, GPS locations, text messages, emails, telephone, just across the board, just being totally creeped on. Even if you want to say, hey, George Bush was a great guy, that administration, I trust them, I would let them take care of my cat when I went out of town for the weekend. I would leave George Bush with the key to my house to feed my cat and scoop the litter boxes. I trust him with everything. Maybe you say the same.
Dick Cheney? Okay, sorry.
Especially Dick Cheney. I would trust Dick Cheney to watch my mother's animal. Anyway, maybe you say that about the Obama administration. I trust them with every ounce of my being. maybe one of the 38% of the country that actually still believes this guy and the administration. I am not one of them, never have been. Anyway, okay, so maybe you trust the Bush administration with Bush and Cheney. Maybe you trust Obama, Biden, and Pelosi and Boehner and all, whoever it is. Maybe you trust them. What about the next person that takes power? Because I like to play a game called What If I Was a Bad Guy? And Blake, I'll tell you what, if I was a bad guy, I would want information on every single person, and I would find a way to use it against them. If I were a bad guy. Talk about that for a second.
Well, yeah, we've seen the script before with J. Edgar Hoover in the during Nixon administration and previous to that. So yeah, you can only imagine that this stuff still goes on. Of course, it's not like the CIA went away or the FBI, and then of course the NSA came out later. So yeah, you can only imagine what they have on people. They're just they can use it for under the guise of national security. And maybe it's not, public info. Maybe they can't use it on you again in court or something because they're not supposed to have that. But you just never know how things could be used against you. And as you say, John Roberts, we really don't know what goes on behind the scenes. And sometimes we kind of wonder how come certain politicians act a certain way, and we don't really know if they're getting bribes or blackmailed or what goes on. It's this culture that's developed. And, but thanks to Snowden revelations, hopefully we'll start seeing things turn around from here.
And, part of it as well is, let's also say, what if a bad person wanted to get to you, and maybe you didn't have anything embarrassing, maybe you are living a pretty solid, upright life, and you're not really ashamed or disgusted with anything you've done, and it's like, well, whatever, I'm still going to do what I'm going to do. How hard would it be to go through the contacts and maybe start making life miserable for your friends, the people in your contacts list, your family, your loved ones, the people that you care about? I don't know, maybe a couple of them suffer some accidents, and maybe the message is made crystal clear, fall in line or else you're going to be like them. Isn't that a possibility if there was a bad regime, a bad administration in charge of everybody's private data, Blake?
Yeah, absolutely. For those goody two-shoes out there that really just do not have any dirt on them and they've lived, perfect lives or whatever, yeah, they're still vulnerable. What about, like you said, what about their family, their spouse, their kids, or what have you? Is that okay for everybody? Not everybody, everyone's got a little dirt. Everyone makes mistakes. We're all human. We've done dumb things, made poor choices, and hopefully we learn from them. But, the last thing you need is some creepy government agency with all of that information on you. People like James Clapper or Keith Alexander or, Dianne Feinstein or some of these other monsters that are going through and playing God. We don't want to go. We don't want to live in that kind of world.
I would agree, Blake. But that is exactly why, for these reasons and a lot more, is why Edward Snowden has been named the TNAM Person of the Year. So if you're listening to this and you have another reason that we haven't covered, please leave it in the comments section wherever you're finding us. You can do that on thenewamericanmedia.com, on Facebook, just search The New American Media, and like the page, on Twitter at American_media_, or on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/The New American Media. Please leave your comments, join the conversation. I'm sure we didn't think about every angle of why Edward Snowden's revelations of these Fourth Amendment violations from the NSA this past year have made him the Person of the Year, because he really, Blake, one last point here, because here's another. This guy, okay, 2 points. This guy really did, Edward Snowden, he kind of gave up everything in his life. He sacrificed everything, and I've watched a lot of these stories about the Revolutionary War and read up on the topic, and these people did pledge their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor. They put everything on the line so that the future generation would have a better shot than they did, and that kind of seems like exactly what Edward Snowden did. So talk about that for just a second, and then to wrap that up, how do you see this playing out? What do you think is going to ultimately become of Edward Snowden?
Ooh, second one's a good one. Okay, well, yeah, good points, Brian. He had a six-figure salary, living a good life over in Hawaii, had a pretty girlfriend, seemed to have his life going, fairly well by a lot of standards, and then, gave it all up ended up, hiding out in some hotel out in China, and then later, of course, went to Russia, where the Americans canceled his passport, so he couldn't really go anywhere except kind of ask for temporary asylum over in Russia. So, I mean, the guy has really made an ultimate sacrifice. And the guy, who knows if he can ever come home again. I mean, he would probably be treated the same way Bradley Manning was, except even worse. He'd be, sitting in a hole in some dungeon in Guantanamo Bay or something, for all we know. And we can only imagine what would have happened if he had gone to the wrong people, if he had, say, gone to a Dianne Feinstein or Chucky Schumer or something like that, and then maybe we never would have heard of Edward Snowden. He would have just been some NSA guy who got into a car accident one day, and we wouldn't know why. So, no, that's exactly good points of, why he should be Person of the Year for those major personal sacrifices. No, sorry. What was the second part?
It was well. It was just part about what he sacrificed, and how do you see this drama ultimately playing out? Because I did see a story where the NSA is contemplating. I think it was a Russia Today article that we sent. I don't know, maybe on our Facebook page. A Russia Today article saying something about the NSA is contemplating dropping charges and bringing him back on asylum, or some sort of arrangement being worked out, as long as he doesn't share any more information. Which leads me to believe, oh my God, it's even worse than all of these unconstitutional things that this rogue agency has been up to. So I guess I was just wondering if you could look in your crystal ball and tell me how do you see this playing out for Snowden?
Well, I haven't seen that, but I've heard rumors. So I don't know exactly what's going to happen once his. I think he's only on a 1-year temporary asylum, so I don't know. We'll have to see what happens then, and then what's going to be done with them, and if America will let him go anywhere, if they can, put something in his past. I don't know. It's a great question, because I just have to see, and once we get a little closer to once his asylum expires, then we'll have a little bit better idea, I think, what goes on from there.
Well, let me say this one is from December 13th, and we'll wrap it up here. Senior National Security Agency officials, this is from RussiaToday.com. Senior NSA officials in the United States say they've considered making a deal with former contractor Edward Snowden that would give amnesty to the leaker charged with espionage if he stops disclosing secret documents. They have got to be worried about what else is sitting there that they haven't told him about. That is the creepiest thing to me. If they're willing to do this, what are they trying to buy his silence from? It continues, it says, both the director of the NSA and the government official in charge of the agency's Snowden Task Force. The agency has a Snowden Task Force. Yeah, how about a compliance and oversight with a Constitution Task Force? Because you wouldn't have been able to do any of this crap otherwise. Anyway, I digress. Both the director of the NSA and the government official in charge of the agency's Snowden Task Force tell CBS News that they've considered the possibility of cutting a deal with a 30-year-old former contractor who fled the U.S. for Hong Kong earlier this year with a trove of top-secret documents. Snowden, who is reportedly now working in Russia after being granted temporary asylum there in August, might be able to return to the U.S. and avoid prosecution if the American government agrees to an amnesty deal that would likely put an embargo on the stolen cache of files. That was the article I was referencing. It's on our Facebook feed.
Wow. No, that's good stuff. I'm going to have to go check that one out. Well, I hope he doesn't take the deal. And yeah, they're absolutely terrified. British, the government in Britain, they've really gone after that. They've been destroyed computers over at The Guardian. They're trying to go after the head guy at The Guardian as well, putting him on trial, trying to shake him down, trying to scare him. They shut down Glenn Greenwald's partner. I think it was David Miranda when he was at the Heathrow Airport going through there. Yeah, there's a lot of people that are freaking out. They've got a lot to hide and stuff that could really put a lot of bad people up in the top of the structure. Behind bars, perhaps. I mean, people are talking about, James Clapper should be under fire, and perhaps for lying to the people, lying in front of Congress when he said that they weren't staring at or looking at people, or not wittingly. So, yeah, I guess if you, somebody's out there, they got the goods, and, it's just a revelation away from getting exposed and perhaps... getting under some criminal charges for all the criminal activity that the NSA has been engaged in. yeah, I'd say they got to be running scared right now and be loving to make a deal with Edward Snowden.
I mean, wouldn't Fourth Amendment violations of this magnitude fit the bill of high crimes and misdemeanors for treason?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and that, folks, is why Edward Snowden is the TNAM Person of the Year. Be sure you follow Blake. He's at Eccentric99. Blake, we only have a couple minutes left. Do you want to hit reset and just buzz through some of the top stories of the week real fast?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
All right.
Hang on. Let me do this. Let me play our station identification break. We'll chop this in post-production as two separate segments, and we'll give you a little taste of the top news stories of the week in case you missed them. We'll try to play ping-pong a little bit here. My name is Brian Engelman. You're listening to Agree to Disagree here on the TNAM Radio Network.
You are listening to the New American Media.